Sometimes I do. Have you ever heard of that? I do that too. Especially sometimes
You worked for a while.
But I didn't.
Not blissfully. We're enjoying it, but
Jackie, Shabbat Shalom. Good to see you.
Oh, right. I remember. Hi, nice to see you again. Welcome back. And you're New York based?
Yeah, exactly.
I think I have another great new couple for you. But you haven't even met the first one. Right, exactly. I mean, they're here like almost every other week somewhere. But, yeah. Saturday, Friday, but yeah. But yeah. There's a new couple, I think. We'll see.
Everything under control? Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll be awesome.
Startup guy.
And a non-profit person.
Yeah.
The other one. Shabbat Shalom. So funny story. So I am. All right, Shabbat Shalom. We're about to get started. So let me just grab a book. Okay. So welcome to everybody who's here. Shabbat Shalom to those who are also watching on YouTube, but especially to the extended family of Sammy Raganese, who is here, and so the Raganese and the Simento families, and there's many other names who may be watching from all over. So great to have you all here. And Sammy will be leading a number of things tonight, but not the very beginning. We're going to begin on page 5 page 5. Shir Adonai Shir Chadash, sing unto God a new song. Turn to page 12 for Romelu. Romelu, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu behar kodsho. Romelu, Adonai Eloheinu, behar kodsho. Right, page 13 means more than David. Means more than David, Adonai Beli, Abuladonai, Kavod Baozai, Abuladonai, Kevod Shemavich, Abuladonai, Behavra Kodesh, Adonai, request of our minchag here is to do only the first two of the last two stanzas, and I will, as I mentioned, I will change the tune from the first two when I turn to the last two. Page 15, Shabbat Bride. Bottom of 17, Yamin Usmon Tibrotzi, et Adonai Tariti, Al Yadish Ben Parzi, and Ismecha Benagi La 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 Chadoti, Nikrati Prakala, Panei Shabbat Nekabela, Nechadoti, Nikrati Prakala, Panei Shabbat Nekabela. Rise and face the entrance, welcoming the Shabbat bride. 18. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam v'simcha u'v'tzola, tov emnei am-zilula, boi kala, boi kala. May be seated, and we say to any mourners in our midst, may God comfort all the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. And we are on page 19. Psalm for Shabbat. Mizmor shir leyom ha-Shabbat, tov le'odot le'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, le'amid b'boker hasdecha, ve'emunat ha'baleot, alei yasor ve'alei yodem, alei yayom ve'hinor. Mizmor shir leyom ha-Shabbat, tov le'odot le'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon. We continue silently. Tzadikat amar yifrach, ka'erez balmanon yizkeh, shetudim b'beit Adonai b'chatzro, Eloheinu yafrichu, o yeduvun b'seva, תימו, נכון כיסך בהסממתה, סונרות הרלינה, סונרות עולם, מסונרות תוך ים. מכל מים, מים רבים אדירים, משברי ים, אדיר במרום, אדוני. עדותיך נאמנו מאוד, בחדמה קודש אדוני, לבורך ימים. We rise for the formal call to prayer, the Baruch Hu, and we call up Sammy. Take your mask on. We may be seated. Page 23. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro v'harimu marvel.
I Vikayam, Tamini, Lokalin, Lelam Ba'ed, Baruch Atadonai, Amari Barabi.
Amen. Go ahead and just stay up there, even though I'm going to mostly lead this next piece.
Lecha, Ayom Adorecha, Vishinatam Levanecha, Vidibartatam, Vishivtecha Uvetecha, Ulechecha Baderech, Uveshofrecha Uvekumecha, Ukshartam Leod Al Yadecha, Vayutatafot Veinecha, Uklaptam, Al Mezuzot Veitecha, Uvisharecha.
We continue silently 27 through 29.
Amon Hiskaru, Vasitem, and only for time. If you
Hem Kedoshim Lechem, Ani, Adonai Lechem, Asher Tzidiyachem Eretz Mitzrayim, Leochem Elohim, Ani Adonai Lechem. Amen.
Adonai Lechem, Amen.
You're on page 32 now. Malchut Torah Tzon Kudolehem, Rosh Eben Yisrael, Chanashira B'Simcha Rabba, Ve'avlu Kulam. Yichamocha, Va'eli Manai, Yichamocha, Nedar Ba'kodesh, Torah Tekilo, Osef Belen, Torah Tekilo, Osef Belen, U'V'Chara'u Alecha, Ke'ayom Nifnei Moshe. Page 33. Ashkinu Adonai, Eloheinu Nishon, Eloheinu Malkeinu Lechaim. Ashkinu Adonai, Eloheinu Nishon, Eloheinu Malkeinu Lechaim.
Salenu Sukkot Shlomecha, Baruch Atah Adonai, Aparei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, Akol Yisrael Del Yerushalayim. Please rise for Shamru, page 34. Clap your hands to the rhythm of the song. Shamru, Ben Remain standing for Chatzi Kaddish, page 35. That's all you say.
Yikra v'yikra shemei rava.
Amen.
Adi brak your day v'em lefon b'tei. V'fayer on yomerchon. L'fayer o beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala. L'mizman kari. V'imeru. Amen. Yehi shmei rava mevorach. Le'olam lo me'omaya. Yiparach v'yishkavach. Yipar v'yitranam v'yitnaseh. Yitadar v'yitaleh. Yitola shmei kudusha.
Rehu.
Le'elan yitko berchata v'shirata. Tush berchata v'mechemata. Damiran v'yama. V'imeru.
Amen. Private Amidah, pages 37 through 48. Shalom bimroha. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei Tel ve'imenu. The shortened form of the repetition Amidah, called the Matbeah Tefillah, the essence of the prayer, is found on page 49. Vayachlu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzevam vayachal Elohim b'yom hashvi melakto asher asa vayishbot b'yom hashvi mikol melakto asher asa vayavarech Elohim et yom hashvi vayikadesh oto Kivo Shabbat Mikol Malakto, Asher Elohim La'aso, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu Elokei Avotenu, Elokei Abraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, Elokei Sarah, Elokei Rivka, Elokei Rachel, Elokei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Konei Shamayim Va'aretz, Magin Avot Bidvaro, Mechayei Meitim B'ma'amaro, Ha'el HaKadosh She'ein Kamohu, Hameniach Le'amo, Yom Shabbat Kodsho, Kivam Ratza Lehaniach Lahem, Kivam Ratza Lehaniach Lahem, Lefanav Navo B'yirav V'pachad, V'nodeh Lishmo B'chol Yom Tamid, Me'en HaBrachot, El HaOgahot HaShalom, V'kadesh HaShabbat, V'varech Shevi'i, U'miniach B'kedusha, Ne'al Mikdush Ne'odeg, Zecher L'maseh Bereshit, Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu Retzei v'Nuchatenu, Kadshenu b'mitzvotecha v'ten chelkenu b'toratecha, Samenu b'tuvecha v'samchenu b'shuatecha, v'taher libeinu li'ovrecha v'emet, v'hanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu v'yahava u'ratzon Shabbat Kodshecha v'nuchu ba'Yisrael v'kadshe shemecha Baruch Atah Adonai v'kadesh Shabbat. Page 53, Kaddish Shalem. One more time, Sammy.
Yikadal v'yikadash me'rabah.
Amen.
Yamadi brachir tevion l'chmokite. V'chayhonu v'lichonu fayed v'olei Yisrael. V'galav v'zmakari v'yimeru.
Amen.
Yehesh me'rabah me'vora.
Le'olam olam le'olam
Yiparach v'yishtabah v'yiparach v'yishtamah v'yinaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalach v'yikusha. Le'elam v'yitkogerta. Birchata v'shirta, tishbechata v'nemata d'amiram v'alma v'imeru.
Amen.
Tishkavot zolotanu v'amitonu l'chol Yisrael, kodam avotani v'shmai, V'yimeru.
Amen.
Yehesh la'arav mitzvayah, v'chayim alenu v'avko Yisrael, v'yimeru.
Amen.
Osei shalom v'yiramav, v'yasei shalom, alenu v'avko Yisrael, v'avko Yisrael, v'yimeru.
Amen. Yasher Koach.
All right. So, for those who come regularly on Fridays, you know that I don't give a sermon. Those who don't, who are not regulars, what I have been doing all year, and I'm on my second to last one, is I'm taking a president of the United States and talking about their relationship to the Jewish community. I've gone in order from the beginning. I'm up to George Bush, the George H.W. Bush, that is. I'm going to stop at Clinton because, well, it's obvious, right? People cannot, we're not objective. And it's funny because even with George Bush the first, my opinion, not really opinion, but my general feel for what he was like as a president for the Jewish community is different than the authors David Dahlin and Alfred Kolach, who wrote this book on the President of the United States and the Jews. They remember him better than I did. This has nothing to do with the political orientation, but really in his relationship to the Jews. If you look back at what he did, it's not terrible, but some of the things that he said and the way the Jewish community felt at the time, at least my read on it, was somewhat different. George Bush was born in Massachusetts. He was a Republican. He was part of the Episcopal Church. He was actually very religious. They read the Bible every morning at breakfast in his family. He was a churchgoer, but in an old school, high church Protestant. He was a pilot in the Navy in World War II before he went to college. He then went to Yale. He moved to Texas after that, made a lot of money in the oil business, became a U.S. congressman, United States ambassador to the United Nations under Nixon, head of the CIA, and of course, vice president under Ronald Reagan, after nearly defeating him in the primary. In his first election, he got 33% of the Jewish vote against Michael Dukakis, which was a pretty high number, but Reagan had even higher numbers. But that went down all the way to just 11% against Clinton, which tells me that I'm remembering correctly, actually, to some extent. Some of it has to do with party affiliation, of course, and the sort of Reagan connection to the Jews gone, and him not really being able to benefit from that anymore. But I think some of it was some of the things that happened during his term. So first of all, there were not very many prominent Jews in the Bush administration. There were a lot of assistants, but no major members of the cabinet. There was Robert Strauss, was the ambassador to Russia. Dennis Ross was in that government, but he was the director of policy planning for the State Department. He didn't have the special role that he would have later under Clinton. Paul Wolfowitz was just the Undersecretary for Defense for Acquisitions. Right? There's all kinds of undersecretaries, people like names that I don't even know, but maybe some of you do. Richard Shifter, Herman Cohen, Bernard Aronson, Melvin Levitsky, Arnold Cantor, Fred Goldberg, Marshall Greger, that one I do know, and Morris Abraham. A lot of his relationship to the Jewish community had to do, especially since there weren't a lot of heavy Jewish influences in the cabinet and no White House Hanukkah parties yet, Passover Seders, none of that had happened yet. A lot of things with Israel issues. There was a lot of tension with Yitzhak Shamir, the prime minister during most of his, probably all of his administration, despite the fact they were both right-wing, relatively, in their government, and neither by today's standards, but at the time. And actually, Bush had a secret relationship with Yitzhak Rabin, who was left-wing, who was the defense minister under Yitzhak Shamir. That was his cabinet position. Some of the things that happened was he asked Israel to stay out of the Gulf War, despite Israel getting bombed. You probably remember this, at least some of you, the bombs that were following on Tel Aviv from Iraq, even though Israel had nothing to do with the First Persian Gulf War at all, but the way that Saddam Hussein wanted to get other nations involved was to get Israel involved. So Israel held back, and partially at the urging of the United States. He also did some wonderful things, in terms of, He urged the repeal of the 1975 Zionism is Racism resolution. As vice president, he really helped with rescuing Jews from Ethiopia, the USSR, and Syria, and some of that continued into his presidency. So much so that Abe Foxman, the director of the ADL, said, when you add up the Jews he saved, Bush will be a great tzaddik, he said. On the other hand, one of the big things was there were loan guarantees to help those same Soviet and Ethiopian Jews. The United States was going to guarantee a loan to Israel. And he and particularly Secretary of State James Baker really presented it as they were the poor little guys, and Israel and the Jews were the Goliaths. They were the Davids, and the Jews were the Goliaths. And talking about the Israel lobby, Bush called himself one lonely guy battling 1,000 lobbyists on the Hill. And these kind of have anti-Semitic overtones, even if they weren't intended as such, that really rubbed, certainly me at the time, and I think the majority of the mainstream Jewish community very wrong using that kind of language. Remember, James Baker said, if you wish to call the White House phone number, Israel is, 202, something, something, something. It was really kind of degrading. Some people at the time, I remember thinking, he kind of had some old school, not full on anti-Semitism, but the old CIA State Department sort of, Arabist, pro-Arab mentality that made him not very friendly to Israel. But as you can see, there were good things and bad things. Another thing that happened was the Jonathan Pollard spy case. And this one, history will still debate, and we still don't really have all the information. Jonathan Pollard was definitely a spy for Israel. And just a little bit about him. Because the United States was not sharing intelligence information with Israel that had happened in the past, he decided to take it into his own hands and do so. And he made a conscious choice saying, I'd rather be rotting in prison than sitting Shiva for the hundreds of thousands of Israelis who could have died because of my cowardice. So he sent documents for 1.5 years. That was one thing. He also got paid for it and lived lavishly, which led to suspicions by the FBI. He tried to seek asylum at the Israeli embassy, but they wouldn't have him. So he confessed. He cooperated with the U.S. attorney, at least as far as we know, and in exchange for a lenient sentence, but he didn't get that lenient sentence. He got life imprisonment instead. And no spy for an ally had ever been punished that harshly. And so that was some of the controversy. He was finally pardoned by Barack Obama. So, in any case, that's a little bit about George Bush and the Jews. He retired to Texas, 25 pleasant years, and he died in 2013, 16? I had it written down, but somehow didn't make it on the paper. So, in any case, that's a little bit about George Bush the First. And next week, we're going to conclude with Bill Clinton. All right. And what I'm doing after, I'm not going to tell you yet. It's really exciting to me. We'll see if it's as exciting to you. The only hint I'll give you, it's much more small. It is history, but it's much smaller time history. Very small time history. You'll see what I'm talking about. Just a little teaser for you. All right. At this point, we're going to rise for the Kiddush, and let's have David, Leora, Charlotte, and Sammy all over there. Here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei b'ri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher nidanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'avatzah himanu, zikaron l'ma'aseh b'reishit. Kihu Yom Tevilah, let me cry a Kodesh.
Zever L'Tziat Mitzrayim, Ivanu V'Charta, Ve'otanu Kidashta, Mikol Ha'amim, V'Shabbat Kodshecha, Ve'ahavu Ratzon, Ihaltanu,
Baruch atah Adonai,
Kadesh. Amen. Chaim to life. And if you are in the presence of children, I see Beth, you got 3 generations there, right? So very nice for you. And definitely for David and Larry, put your hands on your kids' heads. And we say, Simcha Elohim k'Ephraim v'hi Menashe, Simech Elohim k'Sar, Rivka Rachel v'Leah, Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Yer Adonai p'nav elecha v'yichunecha, Yisar Adonai p'nav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God lift the divine face toward you and grant you peace.
Amen.
All right, remain standing for the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol, ha'teinu l'alun tzerreshi, shelo tzamanu k'rei ha'ratzon, shelo tzamanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo tzamanu kahem,
Ve'or aleinu k'chol ha'onam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Notei Shamayim v'Yosei Haaretz, U'Moshe Nikaro b'Shamayim Ima'o, U'Shmi Matuzo, Tegabrei Meromi, Hu Eloheinu Eino, Emet Malkeinu Efesuato, Kakatu Betorato, Betantayom Be'asherata, Elevalecha, Ki Adonai Hu Elohim, V'Shamayim Ima'o, Ve'al Haaretz Ni'itahan, Eino.
Kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech ha'kol haaretz b'yom ha'hu.
Bayom Hahu, Yeh Adonai Echad, U'Shemo Echad.
Right, Yashikot, you can be seated. Yeah, take it with you, sure. On this Shabbat, we lovingly recall the memory of our departed relatives and friends whose yortzites we observe during the coming week. It's a pretty long list. We're thinking especially today of David Aaron, Ronald Abraham, Harry Barnett, Edward Berkovich, Erwin Bryan, Lubin Calabio, Max Davis, Irma Eyes, Sandy Rosenfeld Emmert, Richard Goldstone, Herbert Goodman, Mulva Goodman, Edith Goodwin, Mary Hale, Rita Eager, Jeanette Jager, Jacob Carwatt, Sam Katzberg, Max Kaufman, Alexander Kleinlehrer, Leon Kraft, Leland Kugelgen, Sarah Lichtenstein, Rebecca Millman, Esther Nagar, Esther Nankin, Mildred Pullman, Gainsane Rosenberg, Joseph Rosenfeld, Eve Rothman, Stanley Ruddy, Joseph Sampson, Mona Scharf, Joseph Shine, Sarah Leah Schneider, Ben Silver, Wayne Stanfield, Ann H. Tanner, Mervyn Tesler, Jacob Waxman, Erwin Wallen, Eva Weissman, Eric Zelitzler. We are in the Shloshim for Molly Hirsch, and the Shiva for Sid Horowitz. Actually, it's still the Shiva for Molly Hirsch. And also for Sid Horowitz, the brother of Andrea Shea. the memories of all who are with us. We ask all those who are in mourning or observing the Lord's Sunday, as well as anyone else who would choose to do so, to rise for the mourner's Kaddish on page 61. Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah
Amen.
V'Alman Yivrach Yerutei V'Yamlich Malchutei V'Chayechon V'Yomechon V'Eidachol Beit Yisrael V'Agalav Yizman Kari V'Yimru Amen. Ye'esh Shemei Rabbah V'Orach V'Elam L'Mei Maya Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yifahar V'Yiromam V'Yitnaseh V'Yitadar V'Yitaleh V'Yitalach Shemei Kedusha Barichu Le'ela V'Yikol Berchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechemata Gamiran V'Yomam V'Yimru Amen. Ye'esh Mama Rabba Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom V'Yimromam U'Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Yimru Amen. Zichronam Livracha, may the memory of the people you come to say Kaddish will be a blessing to you always. Let's say Amen. Very well. All right, a few announcements. There is a dinner after for the Raggedish family. So invited guests only. It will be outside, but for you who are here, if you don't need the bathroom, you can just go right out that door and right down the stairs to the courtyard. If you do, I'd go down out those main stairs and to the social hall. Where are people from, by the way, before I do the rest of the announcement? I think there's New Yorkers, I know that. Boston, Seattle, Texas, Israel, you've made it all the way. Excellent. Great to have you here. And let's see, Alan and Sandra, you want to tell us who you brought with you today? You give some guests. Welcome, great to have you here. All right, so tomorrow, services start at 9:30. Sammy becomes bar mitzvah. He will be leading the Torah service, the Musaf service, giving the drash, reading Torah, reading Haftarah, and maybe even a few other things too. But other than that, not much to do tomorrow for you. All right, so let's see, what else do we have? We've got minions Monday and Thursday at 8 a.m. They're all in here. Weekly Torah study at Rocky's Brooklyn Basin Market at 9 a.m.
Wednesdays.
What was that?
On Wednesdays.
On Wednesday, sorry, yeah. Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Next Saturday, we have Shabbat Mishpacha for the first time this year, as well as junior congregation, both at 10:15 in the two different courtyards. There's a TBA film series discussion at 7:30 p.m., 2 movies about the Jews of Cuba. And on Thanksgiving, eggs, onions returns. Minyan is at 9 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock, and there will be eggs, with or without onions, depending on your preference afterwards. So very, very excited. We thought we weren't going to have it this year, but Henny Heck, as well as some of the Minyan guys, stepped up, and we are happy. Very, very excited. All right. I have actually 2 different songs tonight to close the service with, because they're both from this Torah portion, this parsha. And the first one, actually, I wrote, and it is definitely the song that I'm most proud of that I've written. There's not a lot of competition, though. You know, most of my other songs are, 15-year-old teenage angst. So I've written a couple Jewish ones, but this one is based on Jacob's dream. I didn't write the lyrics. Moses did. It takes parts of the Torah portion. The beginning, Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva, and Jacob went out from Beersheba, Ve'elach Haran, and he went toward Haran, Ve'achalom ve'hinei sulam, and behold, he dreamt. There was a ladder, and there were angels going up and down the ladder, and he said, surely God was in this place, and I did not know it. It's kind of, if you're an Israeli music fan, it's kind of in the Arik Einstein style. That's the first one. The second one, also from the Torah version. It's not the part we read tomorrow, though. It's the part we read at your Minyan bar mitzvah with the tefillah. Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva, Vayelech Harana, הגיע השמיימה, והנה מלאכי אלוהים עולים ויורדים. יש אדוני במקום הזה, ואנוכי לא ידעתי. המה נורא במקום הזה, אין זה כי אם בית אלוהים. ויצא יעקב מבית שבע, וילך הרמה, ויחלום, והנה סולם, נגיע השמיימה, והנה מלאכי אלוהים עולים ויורדים. יש אדוני במקום הזה, ואנוכי לא ידעתי. המה נורא במקום הזה, אין זה כי אם בית אלוהים. שער שמיים.
Right. The next one is by Noam Katz. It's called Ufaratzta, which means you shall spread. If you went to camp during my era, you know the one that goes Ufaratzta, 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 but it's not that one. It's the one that the kids are singing today. So I'm not even sure that we were doing it when you were young enough in the Beit Sefer, Charlotte, Sammy. You may not. I'm not quite sure. Now, actually, you can do the hand motions if you would like. I was going to say, I doubt you will. Karen, I'm sure Karen will.
I don't know what they
Okay, so we go, because it's all the directions. Yama, yama, kedma, kedma, safona, va, negva. Okay, yama, yama, kedma, kedma, safona, va, negva. All right, that's all right.
That's easy enough.
Anana, 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 anana. Yama, yama, kedma, kedma, safona, va, negva. Yama, yama, kedma, kedma, safona, va, negva. May you always try to inspire. May you always try to reach higher and higher. May you bring goodness and may you bring peace. May you spread it from the west to the east. May you spread it from the north to the south. Ufarasta, yama, yama, kedma, kedma, safona, va'anegva. Yama, yama, kedma, kedma, safona, va'anegva. May you be a light that shines the way. May you be a blessing each and every day. May you let the laughter, love increase. May you spread it from the west to the east. May you spread it from the north to the south. Uparasta, yama, yama, kedma, kedma, safona, va'anegva. Yama, yama, kedma, kedma, safona, va'anegva. Anana, 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 anana. Shabbat Shalom.